Hadouken! Tyrone Spong is a living legend of Dutch kickboxing. The 34-year-old, who was born in Suriname, had accomplished a staggering record of 107 wins, 7 losses and 1 draw, including 6 major championships over a decade and a half. However, since 2015, Spong had totally switched his fighting career to professional boxing, winning both the WBC and WBO Latino heavyweight championships, all within his first 11 bouts, and had remained undefeated in his first 14. In October 2019, Spong was close to getting his big break on US soil against former and undisputed world cruiserweight champion Oleksander Usyk. Unfortunately, Spong would be at the centre of controversy during fight week when Matchroom Boxing promoter Eddie Hearn would reveal via Twitter that Spong's VADA drug test had returned an adverse finding. The shocking news would lead to Hearn replacing Spong with Chaz Witherspoon only a few days out from the main event in Chicago. However, there are also 2 other VADA drug tests that were taken near the time of the first one. The second test had again returned adverse findings, but a third and final test would return a negative result for anything unpermitted. Spong would strongly deny any wrongdoing for the first 2 failed tests, arguing that the third one was clean and should therefore redeem him. However, Hearn would simply counter any argument from Spong the simple fact that he had failed 2 of 3 VADA tests, and that was damning enough in itself to replace him.
It's quite simple. What you had in your system was not there a week later when you had it.
Previously, Spong had left behind a glorious kickboxing career after breaking his leg in a rematch with Gokhan Saki. Prior to that career-threatening injury, Spong had joined the former Blackzilians MMA team in Florida after emigrating from the Netherlands, and despite fighting in MMA, kickboxing would continue to give him the most opportunities as a fighter despite transitioning. Before breaking his leg, Spong was on a 10-fight win streak in kickboxing and had been undefeated in 3 years. At the time, he was one of the most prominent figures of the sport, especially since the collapse of old school K1, and is still widely considered as one of the greatest kickboxers ever. Recently, and despite the quarantine lockdown of all gyms and businesses across most countries, Spong has continued training with longtime Dutch kickboxing coach Henry Hooft. Some of their training sessions, as posted on social media, have included 1 championships, 2 weight world champion Ong Lang Nasang, training with Spong and doing pad work and partner drills. Now, it's easy to simply jump the gun and speculate. Hey, Spong's kickbox training with a renowned 1 championship star, and 1 had been relentless during lockdown with continued sightings, including former Glory contender Ismail Lont, and 1 had been making news for record-breaking stats about their online growth. So surely 1 championship wants to snap up Tyrone Spong, or he's at least on the verge of a kickboxing return in current capacity. Such speculation is very easy to understand for a couple of other good reasons. Reason number 1, the world's supposed leading kickboxing promotion, Glory Kickboxing, seems to be a hell of a lot less active compared to 1, with no new big signings being boasted about, other than the shocking announcement that their CEO, Marshall Zananak, decided to quit just the other month. So anyone could be easily forgiven for thinking that Glory are losing some serious traction to their one and only major rival. Reason number 2, Spong's fall from grace was so public in pro boxing, as well as his war of words with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, that it's plain and simple for all to see that Tyrone has most probably burnt some serious bridges with the most notorious modern day gatekeeper of big money fights in boxing, especially since it wasn't that long ago that an ex-heavyweight Glory kickboxer, Jarrell Miller, who just happens to be a former Blackzilians teammate of Spong's as well, failed his pre-fight drug test only a couple of weeks out from what would have been a big blockbuster in the Middle East. Andy Ruiz would be a late replacement and steal the show, as well as AJ's belts. So maybe Eddie Hearn has had his fingers burnt 1 too many times now to take any risks with any former heavyweight kickboxers jumping into heavyweight boxing now. Therefore, when you take into account Spong's boxing controversy and being 34 years of age, he's obviously at his peak as a striking combat athlete. And yes, he can easily fight up until he reaches 40, as it would seem VADA Harry is on the path to doing so. Also, Spong working his way up the heavyweight rankings and winning a couple of notable straps to make himself more marketable for a major platform like The Zone and Matchroom seems to be great efforts all undone by the bizarre VADA findings. So what possible glory remains by continuing to fight nobodies, especially in boxing, where there's no chance of a major world title or a big money fight anytime soon? Returning to the biggest stage of world kickboxing and entering the ring against the likes of VADA Harry, Rico Verhoeven and Jamel Ben Sadiq would now make much more sense for Tyrone Spong's legacy. Despite the uncertainty at Glory during this whole pandemic, let's look at the bigger picture. Glory was created from the evolution, or shall we say rebranding, of former Dutch kickboxing promotion It's Showtime, with massive investments made by Pierre Aron. Glory have overcome hurdle over the last decade, and when taking into account Pierre's savvy investment history and brainpower, it would be unwise to bet against Glory pulling through these uncertain times and returning to hosting major kickboxing shows throughout the Netherlands in major arenas. Nowadays, both Glory and One Championship are the 2 most obvious destinations for any elite Thai boxer or kickboxer, despite Tyrone claiming in the past that kickboxing can no longer afford afford him, so much has completely changed for the better for both Glory and One. One's massive growth in Asia compounded by Glory's resurgence from hosting major events in Amsterdam throughout the Netherlands, which wasn't possible before Spong's kickboxing retirement, are very strong factors for Tyrone Spong returning to kickboxing in the future. This time there are two, not just one major promotion that can afford to pay substantially more money compared to 2013-2014 rates, because the markets that both Glory and One are now able to utilise a star name like Spong and cover their costs with him too. It's either that or gradually return to pro boxing with a controversial past that will follow him like a shadow and try and force his way again into top rankings where he can no longer be ignored for a title fight. However, such a plan isn't working out too well for a well-established and ex-heavyweight kickboxer turned boxer in WBC #1 ranked Dillian Whyte, who still can't get a world title after being in line for one for 2 years now. So what chance of Spong then? Come back to kickboxing, Tyrone. The timing is perfect for both the sport and the warrior you are to move forward and out of these crazy uncertain times we all find ourselves in.
Why so serious?
Let me know what you think about Tyrone Spong returning to kickboxing instead of anything else in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like this video and help support K1 and Oop to produce more videos about kickboxing. Description is in the link below. Thank you and stay safe.